Okay, so we're live. We're live on YouTube. So for you guys who do not know, at 12 o'clock on Thursdays when we do these here in the store, we do the first episode of the first session live on YouTube. So if you can't make it, you can watch on YouTube and say hi to my mom who watches. Hi, Mom. And so welcome back after the new year. Sorry I missed last week if you guys wanted to come in. There was a bit of a snowstorm here in New York, so we didn't get to do anything. This is the first time back in the new renovated space. Seth and Dave killed themselves over the holiday break to make the space look exactly the same, but be better. So there's new lights installed, but mainly we have the new mixer and everything. So we're gonna hopefully be able to do more and more live streams. Seth has got people here all the time, so it should be really fun. But anyways, I don't think I did my proper introduction. Welcome to OnSet. I am Daniel Norton. This is Dave. Today we have Anna. And we're going to talk about speedlights, right? So every once in a while I like to do a speedlight demo mostly because I generally am working a lot with other types of lights. Sometimes I use my Pro Photo, sometimes I'm using hot lights. And then after the session, inevitably somebody comes up to me and says, can I do this with? And almost always it's speedlights. So it's a great thing to have. Normally I tell people if they're looking for advice on buying equipment, everybody should own at least one, and oftentimes it's the first light that you should buy because it's simple. You can take it with you everywhere. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I say speedlight, it's one of these guys. Let's see. Small flash, fits on top of your camera. Sometimes I call them on-camera flashes for that reason, although we'll be using them off-camera. Ours have letters on them, which is always nice. So these are very, very powerful for what they are, right? So you're looking at enough power in this to make this room dark and light somebody up very easily. Whereas let's say if you were to use, I don't know, fluorescent bulbs or even tungsten, you'd need a lot of power to be able to achieve the same thing you can achieve with this, which runs on AA batteries and can fit in your bag. This happens to be the Canon 600 because I'm using a Canon camera, the EOS 1DX Mark II. Whatever system you have, you can get their speed lights. There's also third parties that make them. You can buy used ones. They're on the market. I tend to say get more of what they'd call the pro level ones if you're buying used because they're built to last. So if you look at let's say you're a Nikon user, you might buy like a SB800 because this is now, it was the expensive flash in its day, and now you can get it for a third of the price, and it's still a robust tool. So anyways, just to go basic to begin with, as always, we want to showcase lighting today, or flash lighting. So first I want to set myself up in a way that none of the light from the space is going to affect my shot. So this is the first thing we want to always consider whenever you're in a space. Do you want to use the light in the space or not? Here, we're going to say no. To do that, I'm going to set my camera at its lowest normal ISO with the normal range, which is 100 for this camera. Your camera might be whatever. Most of them are 100 though. Whenever we do an open shoot, there's always one guy. It's always the same guy too, I think, too. He's got that one camera that the minimum ISO is 200. If you're that person, 200. So ISO 100, shutter speed maximum for normal synchronization, which is 200th of a second usually on Canons. Now, there is such a thing as high speed sync, which we will talk about because almost all speedlights incorporate this, so it's something that we'll talk about today. Usually I don't talk about it much. But for now we're saying 200th of a second, 100 ISO, and then we set our aperture at a point where none of the available light affects our shot. So if you don't know what that is, you can use the little meter on top of your camera and that reads the available light with your flash turned off, of course, and move it all the ways to the -3. Usually it's -3 on top. And then just as a final check, you want to take a shot, take a look at it, and by the way, you're moving it to the -3 using your aperture. So in this case, we're at 5.6, 100 ISO, 200th of a second, and you can see I'm in capture 1 here. We've just produced this frame here, the beautiful shot. It is black, which is what we're going for. That means that none of the light in the space is affecting our shot. None of it is affecting our model, right? So we can, as like a final test, you can come in if you're in capture 1 like I am, or the like, you can click over here to your adjustments and just pull it over until the shot appears. She appears right about there. That's, almost 3 stops underexposed. Now, you want to be underexposed by a couple of stops usually. The more you're underexposed, the better on some level because that gives you more room to recover high shadows and stuff in post if you need to. However, there's always a trade-off, right? I don't necessarily want to be shooting at f16 all the time because number one, that's going to draw a lot of power and I'm using battery-powered lights. And number two, my lens is not sharpest at f16. Generally, your lens is sharp about 2 stops closed down. So 5.6 on 2.8 lens, 5.6 to f8 is usually a nice sweet spot on the lens. Questions about that while I drink coffee? No. Okay. Yes? Is there a way to figure out the sweet spot, the sharp point of the different lenses? Yes, there are people that are crazy and have websites and stuff, and do you know the site? You can literally Google it. There is actually a chart that you can buy that rental studios use, and you put it on your wall, and you photograph this chart at the various apertures, and it will, you'll look at how sharp it is, and you can actually figure that out. So if you do a little Googling, you'll find that. I do not know the exact site, but sure, you can figure that out. But usually it's a couple stops closed down. If you're doing something where that's key, right, you're going to set your whole shoot around the fact you want it to be as sharp as possible, then that's definitely research that's worth doing for each of your lenses.
What about your other settings? White balance and...
Okay, so the question is, what about the other settings? There's other settings on this camera? Oh, man. All right, so white balance I'll do, because that's the easy one. Well, I'm using flash, right? So my white balance is set to...
You set it at flash.
At flash, yeah. I'm shooting raw. I recommend you always shoot raw. And if color is very important to you, you should photograph a neutral target, like an X-ray color checker or the Photech digital target. So something that's neutral. So you can go back and tweak it to do a custom if it's really important to you. I usually do it anyways if I'm actually shooting something, because I'll start neutral and then adjust. But typically, if you put it on flash and you're using flashes, it should be pretty good. If you're using tungsten light, you set it on tungsten, etc. So, what was the other question? Oh, metering. What do we set it? I usually leave it on whatever I don't think it's called matrix in Canon, even though I say it all the time. It's average center weight or whatever it is, the one with the little dot, yeah. So the basic metering. Yeah, evaluative, that's what they call it in Canon. So if you are doing something that's very complex, like let's say you're shooting, let's say she was very, very pale and she's wearing a black shirt and the background is black, I might put it on spot because I know that's going to trick my meter. I mean, it's going to trick it probably even with spot, but generally leaving it in the middle is the place to start. These cameras are pretty sophisticated these days, so putting it in the general metering almost always works for me, so that's usually where I leave it, and then I just, the focus would be the other thing you set. You just put it. I usually put it on single shot if we're shooting with flashes because I'm going to take one shot at a time. I almost never use the motor drive in my cameras ever. So I know that goes against a lot of people like to use the motor drive, but I don't do it. I just press the button really fast if I want to shoot fast. I find that it's not needed, so I usually leave it on single shot. Okay, so I have a ton of speed lights. You don't need to have a million speed lights. We're mostly here so that we can do things fast to show you. But you can build up literally a studio with them. Let's say you have to go somewhere, you need to travel really lightweight, you want to go, let's say, where you don't have power available to you, or you're overseas, whatever, and your lights aren't going to work. You could take 3 speed lights and make a nice 3-point lighting setup and make it look just like a studio shot, just using the same types of techniques you would. You just have to keep in mind that you're working with speed lights. So they're small light sources, so we're going to want to make them bigger, right? Bigger light is going to be softer light. Softer light's generally going to be more flattering. We want to make sure that we're not shooting, again, at f16 all the time if we're working with battery-powered lights. That's going to drain our batteries really quickly. So you just keep these things in mind. So let's start those super basic, because I like to do that. And we have a black frame, but what happens if we just turn the speed light on? I know, right? We're starting really basic. So speed lights, almost all of them have a mode, which is called TTL. In this case, it's ETTL for EOS, I guess. At Nikon, it's ITTL for intelligent, I guess. I don't know whatever they stand it for. I think Pentax is PTTL for Pentax. They couldn't come up with another cool way. But anyways, it's basically TTL, meaning through the lens. That means that the flash is metering through your lens. If it's sitting on top of your camera, yeah, that probably doesn't make a difference. When you start taking it off camera, that's when it becomes really relevant. Old flashes, for the old people in the audience, like you, right? They used to have automatic, and I think some flashes still have automatic mode, where basically it reads the light from the flash itself. That might become an issue if you don't have the flash on the camera because your angles and such. So anyways, we turn the flash on and let's make a shot. Are you excited? You ready?
Yeah.
All right, don't waste a good one on this. This is not a, okay. So we're working in manual where the flash is going to, oh, done. Perfect. Thanks for coming, guys. Now you know how to do it. No, so here we go. We have the flash on camera, and it made a decent shot, right? I can look at my histogram. It looks all right. It looks a little underexposed, I guess, or overexposed. You know, but, well, yeah, this is the worst shot of you ever. So here we are, right? She's lit up, right? But what's wrong with it, right? A lot of things. You're making a face like it's terrible. Yes, that's good. No, it is bad. You might like this style, and if you do, thanks for watching. Next week we're going to do whatever, but no, this is sometimes a style that people will use if they want to show it feels like a flash is on your camera, like you're at a party or whatever. So it can be good for some things. I never want to say you shouldn't do something, but we're not going to do that today. We're going to go with more of a clean portrait. Main issues: flash on camera, small, right? It's 5-6 feet away. It's tiny. It's going to make really hard shadows, right? It's a hard light source. So if we look at this shadow right here, right? That's a hard shadow. It's also very specular. Specular is your highlights, right? This is a specular light source. It's bouncing off the highlights. It's blowing off the makeup. We're not getting all the fine detail that we could get. It's not giving us nice creamy skin. It's giving us this hard, flashy look, which again, maybe you like or you don't like. Also, there's a shadow on the background, but that's more than anything else. The way to make the flash nicer, the simplest way, is to make the light source larger. Making your light source larger will make it softer. That'll make your shadows spread out nicely. If we're bouncing it, it'll also diffuse it on some level and spread out the specularity of it. So if we use something like this, which is a, oh, it's the oval one. This is a reflector that you use like with the sun or whatever, right? Now, I could bounce it off the ceiling. Should we do that? Do we want to see that? Sure. All right, fine. Let's bounce it off the ceiling. Everybody tells you to bounce it off the ceiling, so let's just do that, right? We bounce the flash off the ceiling. Go for it. What if this is perfect? Then we're done, and then like I have nothing else to say. I do have the reflector. Yeah, I do. It's like a press. Okay, so a couple of things. It is a little bit underexposed, but I'm going to worry about that right now. The light is coming from above, right, which is creating shadows down, and which is fine, right? Oftentimes when we light beauty, we put the light above, but we don't put it up here, this close to our subject. Our flash is causing severe shadows in our eyes. This is not flattering, right? There's no light on our neck. Overall, it's just very bad light, right? Why? It should be better, right? The light source is bigger, right? Because it's the roof. But the problem is, the flash is so close to her, by the time it hits the roof and comes down, it's like right over her head. We're not controlling it at all. We're losing control. So while it's not terrible to bounce it off the roof, in some cases, you have to think about where your ceiling is. What if we had a lower ceiling that was maybe white and 4 foot by 2 foot wide, like this, right? Right, this is going to be better already, right? Because now we're in control of our light, right? Now we have light in our eyes. Boom, right? If you're in a place with a low ceiling, the subway, right? We were just talking about that shot that Joe did in the subway, right? Low ceiling, boom, that can work. Ceilings that are high, you're close to your model, you can't use it as a bounce very effectively. Now, this is not terrible. What we could do, though, is we could actually direct the light even more, give us more sweep to it, give us more control if we want, right? So we could actually take it and put it at different angles and bounce back into it. Right? We have a lot of control here. Ooh, that projector is really orange.
It is.
Yeah, right? Now we're getting, and again, this is nice because she turned her face like she did in that first picture, and we can see the light, the difference here between that and that, right? You see the difference? You see the difference in everything, right? You see it in the highlights, you see it in the shadows, right? Make sense? Okay, the flash is on the camera. I just want to say that again. I haven't taken the flash off the camera, have I? Reflector. But Daniel, I don't have somebody to help me. This is the test for Dave right now, if he can pull it off. I'm not even going to look.
What's your flash set? Like half overpowered?
The flash is set to ETTL.
Oh, sorry.
So I don't know, right? one of the things is when you're using TTL in most systems, you don't know the exact amount of power that's coming out. Did he make it work? What happened? He's got it. Don't worry, it's not a live audience or anything. It's a much, much bigger thing. Oh yeah, that'll work, sure.
It is. I call it the peacock.
Okay, that didn't really work that well. Okay, so let's say you don't have somebody to help you, you get somebody to help you. We've got, sir, could you hold this reflector?
Yeah, I'll do it with the whiteboard.
Yeah, he can do it with the whiteboard. No, he'll hold it, here we go.
Let Dave or
No, let Dave do it, he can do it. Usually we use a smaller reflector. That one's a little bit hard to, you got it. Yeah. Normally, how big of a reflector would you use? Typically, I like to buy large-ish reflectors. The reason for that is you can almost never have too big of a reflector. But if I was trying to hold it on my own, a 32 inch is probably the biggest I would do. Because, yeah, it's not bad though. Your composition's off, but it's a little better.
It was an accident.
It's not great, but at least the skin's decent. We'll move on and pretend like that didn't happen. But anyways, you could always get somebody to help you. Or, you know what? There's a wall right here. Right? What if we were to spin the whole set around? Can we do that? Do we have enough? We have enough, right? Let's say if we have you stand here, Anna. Okay, so what if Dave was over here? He could find this wall, right? She has legs. We could ask her to move, right? And he could bounce like that. Now, if you're going to bounce off a wall to the side versus the ceiling, what's going to happen? The light's going to be coming from the other direction. So you have, that's a benefit, we'll always call it a benefit, right, of this. We can actually use it to give ourselves a side light. You know, and if, let's say, this wall is gray, so it's going to be okay. It's going to eat a lot of light, but it's going to be neutral-ish. If it was a bad color, you could lean your reflector. You know, you could definitely make it work. Well, yeah, we'll get little bits of detail in the back, and we'll deal with that in a second. Right, because at 5.6, we're probably going to see you guys a little bit, which could be a problem, but this is more just to show you. Yeah, so there we go. That's actually pretty nice. And there you go, right? Because the wall is big and the light is bouncing at the side, you know, it's nice, right? Decent. Now, if we wanted to, we could incorporate some of this light in the space by adjusting our shutter speed or aperture. We're in TTL, so we could change either when the camera will automatically compensate. We could definitely change it up if we wanted to. Typically, if you're using flash, let's say in a manual type setting, you would just adjust your shutter speed. That way you don't end up messing with the flash power, but TTL changes every single time. One thing you have to know about TTL is that every single time you take a picture, it re-meters it. That is the power of TTL, which means that if your subject moves, if you move, we haven't touched anything, right? The thing automatically compensates. So that's kind of the power of it. It's also the problem with it if you want super consistent results, which is why you would switch to manual. So, you know, which we'll do a little bit later. But anyways, that looks pretty good. Do we want to see you guys lit up a little bit? Do you want to see that? Do you care? Okay, let's go to 2.8. We paid a lot for this lens. Let's just show it. Yeah, let's see it without the flash, which is always the way to do it if you have time, right? I mean, if you're shooting a wedding, you might not be able to stop to do these things, but in an ideal world, you want to get your environment first. Wow, that's still not even that much light back there. Can we turn the lights up in the store? No, okay, so maybe go to like a 30th of a second or something. Actually, the reason why I'm changing it to a 2.82, I mean, I joke about the lens, is because at 5.6, you're all going to be sharp back there. So if I do have stuff in the background, I should consider that in my exposure, right? It's all something to think about. There we go. So it's blurry-ish back there. That's the light in the space. Oh, that looks great. That's why I'm a natural light photographer. Now we'll bounce the flashing. So we're still going to get some shadow from overhead from these lights, but the flash should fill in. Yeah, there we go. Now she's lit up, and we have some light in the background. Looks like we're getting a little specularity on her nose, but we're not going to try to work the shot. We're just kind of showing you technique here. Does that make sense, or are we going too fast? Cool. All right, so let's go back to where we started. Sorry, that was just a little side trek. So back to 5.6, back to 200th of a second, back to our gray background, which isn't new yet for 2018. Okay. I'm not blaming anybody. They did a lot of hard work. I mean, I still am working with the same roll of paper, but it's okay. Okay, so what we really want to do, though, if we want to emulate studio lights, right, because it's kind of what we're getting here. We want to get the most of our speed lights. We don't just want to do on-camera stuff. So let's get the flash off the camera. Now, there's a lot of things that you can do, right, to do this. I'm going to do the most simple thing, which is use Canon's own system, because that's what I have, right? Canon makes a controller called STE3. right? This is the, oops, off. This is their controller. So you could also use a flash on top of your camera. Certain flashes will also act as a controller or a master or a commander or whatever they call it in the system, whatever system you have. So this is going to allow us to fire in TTL or manual our flashes off camera. And they're so conveniently marked for only an extra $1.99. They mark an A on top. No, I did that. We know what group they're in, right? So this is our A flash. It's lit up with a green light, which means that they're in sync. So easy. Okay, so right now all of our groups are in TTL. You can see that, right? Okay, so you can see there's a whole bunch of groups there. I think it goes down to E.
You need sight lines?
What's that?
You need sight lines for
Okay, so do you need a line of sight for this? You do not. The STE3 is a radio transmitter. Some of them will require line of sight, which basically means that one flash has to see another one in order to make it work. So if you do use that kind of a system, be wary of making sure they see each other. In other words, if I have a flash facing forward as my commander and I have a line of sight one, my other flash couldn't be back there, it wouldn't fire. In this case, it will. It has like a 30-meter, whatever. It's pretty decent range. If you need a lot of range, you want to go for like a pocket wizard or something, but you'll lose your TTL.
the rest of that ETTL works with the meter and the camera.
Right, so ETTL, or any kind of TTL, means that it's using the camera's meter. This is one reason why I think going to a Speedlight, especially if you've been shooting for a while but you haven't used any kind of flash, is good because you already know how to use the meter in your camera, right? Because that's what you're using now when you're outside shooting and using available light. It's exactly the same thing, right? Let's take it off camera. I guess I'll just hold it in my hand.
Okay.
So I can take this off and I can put it wherever I want and go like this. Boom, right now. Now this is a technique that took me years to learn. If I was doing it with my other hand, I could hold a coffee. Right, so this is now going to give a shot. Nope, it's not going to do anything. Perfect. What do we do? Oh my God, it didn't work. So we take another picture. Right? Okay, now I really am worried. Okay, why isn't the picture showing?
Maybe that would be.
Oh, because I'm not, no, the reason why is because I am not in the mode, I don't think. No, I'm in slave, yep.
Are you on
Yep, I am.
group A on
I'm in lollipop, yep.
Okay. If I right in the eyes. It is tiring.
Nobody saw those first two times, let's try it again. There we go. Okay, so what do we got here? Daniel hold the light in a terrible spot, right? It's fine though, but you see what happened. I was able to move it in closer and it still gave us a correct exposure. But again, we're back to this, the light is really small. And again, moving your light closer to your subject will make it bigger relative to the subject. But no matter how close I put this, it will never be bigger than her head. And you only have an average size head, right? Your head's not exceptionally large, it's like normal sized. Yeah, so Speedlight, bigger than somebody's, smaller than somebody's head, never gonna be soft. What do we do to make it softer? We could bounce it again, but you already saw that and you'd be like, oh, I need more for my money. So let's put it in something. Let's maybe do the box.
Yep.
Yeah. So we have a few things. So whenever you're shooting with a Speedlight and you like need something, just reach over to the side of the room. There's usually something sitting there for you to use. So I have this, this is a rapid box by Westcott. It's basically about 2 feet-ish. And what this is going to do is make our light source larger. I'm going to make sure it's perfectly centered. There we go. All right. So what this is doing is, right, it's got this diffusion in the front. And we can see that, you know, you saw me put the flash in the back, right? So the flash is back there, hits the diffusion, spreads out, right? Some people like to, and I don't think it's a bad idea, use the little plastic dish that comes with your Speedlight, the one that supposedly does stuff. It doesn't really do that much. In this case, it will, because basically when you have this in there, it hits that white disc, it's going to spread all around, give you a little more even coverage. The other thing you do is flip down that little front thing. That's a wide angle diffuser, as they call it, which I probably should have done while I was in there. I can do it from there, I suppose. Okay, so when you take your flash off camera, generally, I probably mentioned this. Let me roll back a little bit. When your flash is on your camera, right? A more modern flash, it is talking to your camera the whole time. So if I have my lens on there, my 24 to 70 lens, and I zoom my lens to 70, the internal motors in the flash zoom that flash head in and out to give me the most efficient use of light. If I zoom back to 24, it does the same thing. If I take my flash off camera, it usually goes to the widest setting. That's just the default, right? Which is perfect for us because we're putting it inside the thing. Dropping the wide angle diffuser makes it even wider. We want wide coverage, right? Cool, so now we've got this bigger than Anna's head, right? We can see that, right? It's not an optical illusion. Somewhere good. Let's put it like here.
Overhead?
Yeah, why not? He asked me where I wanted it. I said somewhere good. That's how you know, that's how we do it. We just kind of, whatever. Like.
I figured it would.
Yeah, we'll go right into a beauty side. Why not? We're here. We're doing, you guys, it's the first demo of the year. So we're basically using a C-stand here. I typically like to shoot female models when I'm in more of what they call a butterfly pattern, which means you're putting the light central on their face. The reason for that is it makes the light nice and even. Even light tends to make the face seem a little bit more narrow. It amplifies the cheekbones. So we're going to put the light more or less like this on her, right? If you want more drama, you can put it more to the side. You'll get shadows across the face from the nose and stuff. So it just depends on what you're going for. Typically speaking, this is a good, safe way to shoot anybody really, but especially female models. We finally have somebody taller than Dave. It's the first time. Well, because of the heels, I added the... Okay, questions, thoughts, concerns?
You could also shoot the Speedlight through that screen.
Could do that. Did you want to take over? All right, because you could if you want. I think you've been doing enough of this, you guys down. Yeah, so gentleman in the front row is asking, the reflector has inside of it a diffusive panel that comes with it. It's a 5-in-1 reflector. You could hold that up and shoot light through it. Oh, well, that was dark. Okay, we'll try again.
Try again, and maybe we switch to manual.
Yeah, and we can also switch to manual now too to mess around a little bit. So if you're ever using a TTL flash, I mean I joked about it earlier, or any kind of flash, and it doesn't do what you want it to do the first time you do it, don't freak out. Just take another shot. Sometimes you gotta turn it off and back on. It's not a big deal. It's like it happens. It's one of the things that people will often call upon when they say, I don't ever use TTL because it's never, we've been shooting here, we got maybe 3 frames that didn't work, that's not the end of the world, right? So we're back. We can switch to manual though if we'd like. Are you gonna switch to manual?
Sure.
The issue with manual now though is we don't know what to set the flash at, right? So we can guess, which is probably what we'll do. Let's say maybe like 1/8 power. I have a light meter, that's what I was looking for. And we could use a light meter. So this is gonna be useful if you're either don't want to use TTL for whatever reason, or, I had a light meter. There it is. Or you buy, let's say you buy some older flashes that aren't TTL compatible with your system, or you buy some flashes that just aren't TTL. All this stuff exists. You could use a light meter like this one. This is a Sekonic L308S. So I'm going to put it in what they call non-corded flash mode, which is, it's like a lightning bolt, right? And essentially you set your shutter speed, you set your ISO, you put your light meter in the shot, facing the light. We're getting f4.5, so that's not bad. So we give it a little more light. That's like almost 5.6. And I'm to hold this in front of your face. It's okay. You want to eat it, don't you? I know. Models love to take light meters, so make sure you keep your hand on it. 5.6. It is funny that you do this for a long time, and if you work with somebody who's not a professional model sometimes, and you go to use the light meter, and you don't tell them what you're doing, they try to take it from you. It's like, no. Anyways, the flash is set at 5.6, so we should have a good exposure, but I always say, and somebody's going to write in the comments, but I don't care, always do a test shot. I never trust my light meter exactly, because it tells you what it thinks is the right exposure, not necessarily what you want it to look like. So take a shot. I think that looks pretty good, but look at it. You now determine, you're the artist, do I like it at this exposure? And if you do, then you're good, you know? That looks pretty good, I think. You can look at histograms. You can do a lot of different things. I usually just kind of punch in and look for my eye, and then we can look up here and capture one. You get the numbers at the top of the screen. You know, if nothing's popping up around 255, we're good. That looks pretty decent, right? Looks good? You're happy? On this screen, it looks a little bit bright. You have to trust me. Lori does not like it.
This one, it looks like it's clipping or something.
Wow, that looks terrible. That looks like my first digital camera that I got in last year. I don't want to say when I got my first digital camera. Apple Quick Take 640 by. Mm-hmm. If you sit in the front, you.
You get the privilege of seeing the screen.
That's what I get. That's what I get for being a wise guy. Now I'm losing my voice. Okay, so if you sit in the front, you get to see my screen. It has all my notes on here, so I don't get lost. Okay, so, but that looks pretty good. You'll have to trust me. Online, it usually looks good too. So if you guys want to all watch online while you're here, just don't make snarky comments. All right, and you'll be watching 30 seconds behind, which is kind of weird and freaky. I sometimes do that. But anyways, so you see what we got, right? We've got a nice studio lit image with right now just one Speedlight, right, in this Westcott Rapid Box Octa. Questions about this before we move on? I think that's pretty clear, right? Super simple. Now we're in manual, which we'll keep in mind. Let's add another light. Why? Because you get paid more when you use more lights, right? So that's always the way it is. So I have this light over here, which has a B on it. And it's in a Rapid Box strip. I intentionally took these two boxes because basically when you, Westcott makes a kit. I don't think it might be the slightly smaller one of these two with this, and it's kind of a good complete kit. So if you're looking to do something, this is kind of nice. That's why I went with this. Okay, so we're going to move our set slightly. Why? We want a little bit of control, right? At first, we're starting off and we're just like, well, let the background be gray because we only have one light anyways. We'll put the model closer to it. Now we needed some space to move around, right? So Dave's moving the whole set forward. We're in manual, so we're probably going to have to do another test, but it's fine. And then he's going to add this hair light to the back. Oops, I brought it over here to show you. Now I'm messing everything up. And we're going to add like a little hair rim, right? Why not? We like that. Questions? No. Okay, well, there's no questions. Is it super clear or it's so confusing that you have no idea what I'm doing? Or a little bit of both? Yes.
So if you use the inner diffuser plate, I think the soft box has this round thing. Would it soften the light that's hitting your forehead?
Okay, right. So this is a good question. So some, if it came with it, I didn't see it, but that's a good question. Some of these more shallow type boxes or smaller ones have a plate inside that makes it more like a beauty dish. And the purpose of that plate is to make the light more even. So the question was, though, would it make it more even? More or less, it wouldn't have a hot spot. Yes, that's how you would do it. The light, right, remember that I have my light really, the closer your light is to somebody, the more dramatic the fall off will be, right? So if I have my light very close to you, and then I also tilt it, that 1 inch difference at the top of the light is going to make a difference, and the top of her head is going to be brighter. There's a few different setup, like a bunch of lights, and then start shooting, it doesn't look right, and you just don't know what's wrong. You're like, I don't know what's going on. So if you do each light separate, you'll know what you're doing. It's worth the extra couple minutes it takes to do it. So that's nice. I like it a little bit bright, but even though you're probably making it darker. I like an overexposed hair light. That's my style. But Dave likes it to be perfect.
Still not clipping someone. We'll see
Okay.
how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, right. That's like the best when Dave does the hair light in such a way where you're like, is there even a hair light there? And you turn it off, you're like, oh yeah, there was a hair light there. It's his master skill. Oh, she's surprised by it.
Oh, light.
You are surprised by that hair light. That did not go off or something.
Keep going.
Nope.
Try it again.
Okay. We got something funny going on. There we go. Now we're glamorous. Could be. They gave me the cheapest. Okay, I'm just gonna say if you buy cheap batteries, they're just gonna take a long time to recycle. I'm not gonna. I don't want to criticize free batteries, but if you happen to be near the cash register and. Anyways, yeah. That looks, oh, wow, okay. Okay, anyways, I'm gonna look at this screen so I feel better about myself. So now we have a hair light, right? Now we're creating like a studio type shot. What if we wanna, let's throw another light in there. We wanna get paid, right? Let's do like a little, like a background, like, oh, I didn't get a grid.
What about small modifiers that actually go on the flash?
Yes, did I forget to get those? Watch on Facebook at 3 o'clock.
You want a light?
Yeah, do you have one?
Yeah, I got two.
Okay, sorry, I have a bunch of LumaQuest stuff that's upstairs. I forgot to bring it down because it was either do a better lesson for you guys or get a cup of coffee. And I'm gonna be honest, I chose the coffee, sorry. All right, that looks pretty nice, but let's throw that one on the background. And then maybe we'll throw it, do you have a grid or no? Like a road grid or something?
Want a grid?
Yeah, and a gel, I can hear it. I'll take the gel.
Yeah, I might actually.
Okay.
Do you want just a grid or you want like a strip grid?
No, just a grid, just the.
This is two different small
Perfect.
lists.
All right. Whenever you need anything, just ask Seth. Oh, yeah. Oh, I like this guy. This is the new. Well, there's two of them though. Which one's the new one? Or are they both the old ones?
Without the front on it. That's the regular. This is the old one.
Okay. So this is the
That's the Joe
the Joe McNally Lastolite doodad.
I'll put it together.
All right, so that's gonna do it for me. So I build everything before we start. We're not gonna use this right this second, but somebody asked about it online, so you stand by, guys. We're gonna finish what we're doing first, but I'll get to this next. Small modifiers, right, that you can put in your bag really easy. It's a good way to work with Speedlights. This isn't tremendously large, but now, again, right, we're looking at our head. All right, so what are we gonna have to do to keep this soft? We're gonna have to keep it close, right, because look at the head size. In fact, I think when they made this, they measured your head and then they like made it the exact same size. This one's got like a little lip on it.
You still want the grid?
Yeah, I want a grid for the background because we're gonna make a full 3-point lighting shot because I feel like it, and nobody's saying not to, right?
Nobody's saying no. That was
Yeah, or a gel or something. Let's do a gel and a grid, or just a gel. I hear gels. Just grab something.
I mean, I got gel ready.
I'll take any color. I mean, I would prefer baby blue to go with the pink, right? I'll take purple. It's kind of light, but. All right, I got 2 different shades of purple, or lavender, right? What shade do you like? I don't care. She does not care. All right, so tape. Luckily, there's a piece of tape on here that has the letter, so I can just use that. Boom. Good enough. You can probably see that though, right? Thank you.
There might be white grids in it.
Oh, can you see that behind her? Do I need to lower it?
You need to like maybe tighten it up.
Well, I need more. I need more tape, please. Can I have more of that tape? I'm on a tape budget for the year. We're already in January and we're almost through, so we'll see if we can make it. Now I got it. Now, if you were using lights that had like modeling lights and stuff, you probably wouldn't want to use tape. I'm just going to put that out there right now because it will melt. Okay, so now we're adding a purple light to the background. Why purple? I like purple. Why not?
There's somebody white balance.
White balance is set to flash. We're at white balance flash. We're at ISO 100. We're 1/160th of a second, and we are at 5.6. Cool. Dave's meter in the background. Oh, and he has the controller with him. He's taking care of business back there. So what have we learned here? Just bring Dave, tell him what you want. He does it.
What is he doing?
So Dave is metering the background. Basically, he's putting the light meter to the background. He is then using the controller, which is typically sitting on top of your camera. He just has it in his hand. And he's turning the power of the flash up and down to get the exposure that he wants. What are you getting, 5.6 right there?
No, I'm fine. Yeah.
So we're getting all the lights at 5.6, and then we will adjust to taste. Remember, always adjust to taste. Not so there's no taste.
You're asking how much Dave costs.
Dave is a bargain at any price. Oh,
Not bad, not bad.
You gotta adjust that.
that's kind of cool, right? Let's say we think it's too hot, right? Because that's what we think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, also to,
I kind of like how it's.
I want to narrow the beam a tiny bit. Too.
Okay, he's gonna, now so Dave's, remember when you take the flash off the camera, it automatically goes to its widest setting. But you can manually zoom the flash. So we're gonna zoom it in a little bit to keep the beam of angle tighter. I mean, of course, when it hits the gel, it's spreading too. And I think he's gonna turn the power down a smidge, which by the way, when you zoom the flash head tighter, you're gonna need to turn it down anyways, even if we like that power, because when it's tighter, it's going to be brighter. Oh, I rhymed. When it's tighter, it's gonna be brighter. Can I use that for, like set it and forget it? No? Yes?
Incidental metering and through the lens metering is slightly different. How do you adjust for the two?
Oh, if we were using the TTL? Right, so if I was using the TTL for this and not a handheld meter, I would just take, whenever you're using TTL, set everything to the middle, right? No modification. Take a shot and then just adjust. So that would be the difference. I wouldn't, even if you think that you want it to be brighter or less, like almost always when you put a hair light in TTL, it's going to underexpose it because light's coming at the camera. I still always set it at 0. I don't immediately put it up some because again, what I said earlier, if you make a bunch of adjustments and then it's not looking right, you really don't know what you did wrong. So put everything at 0, it doesn't take that long. And then just adjust to taste. But basically when you're doing TTL, because it meters every time, you're not saying use 1/3 power, 2/3 power, whatever. You're saying give it a little bit less power than you're metering, or more power, depending on how you look at it. Also keep in mind that remember the background was not black. So once the other light comes in, it's going to actually lower the saturation on this a smidge. So we'll factor all that in.
I went down to 30 to stop it.
Okay.
Pretty good.
That looks pretty good. Actually, didn't we make a shot of more purple last time we did speed lights? Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
It's different purple, but
Same show.
apparently I like purple. Okay, so now let's add in the front light and stuff and let's see what it looks like, see the difference. It's gonna wash it out, right? That's one of the things with gels, right? If any, bless you, if any neutral light, right, this light is neutral, hits it, it's going to take away the color, right? So, oh, it's pretty nice though.
A little bit over, right? I think we
Yeah.
tiny bit.
Are you on manual?
Yeah. But I
Just
think,
close that.
Yeah. So we're gonna adjust the power slightly. It's a little overexposed.
not that much, right?
Nope. Not much at all, no. Now, the only thing is, what I would say, and I'm gonna, now this is the part of the demo where I make it difficult for Dave. Now, I know it's gonna be really, really difficult to get the background black because of the space that we're in. But the blacker the background is, the more saturation we'll have on that color, so I think we are gonna try to cheat this a little bit. Let's move her forward a little bit, and also tilt it down more.
Yeah.
And then we'll add a reflector and make it more like a glamour light. So, right, so part of our problem is our angle, right? This light is going onto the background. If we move the light back, it will be darker on the background by its nature, right? But also we can tilt it further than we normally would, trying to keep less of the light going past her. So we can actually do like almost a flatter, yeah, maybe a little more. Go pretty flat and then we'll adjust from there. Yeah, that's good. Move forward a little bit. Good. Right, and what's gonna happen here is the light's kind of mostly aiming down here, right? So less light's gonna go to the background. Still not gonna be black with this particular modifier because of the way it bounces around. We are gonna need to add a reflector, and I can tell you that right from the beginning. But let's start without it. The reason why I say this is because her eyes are gonna get too dark. Any questions while we? Now, there are some other solutions that I don't have, but we could explore. This box, well, that's better. There you go. This box comes with, or is available to separate purchase, what's called a grid. So what the grid does is it goes on the front of this and it narrows the beam spread. With this angle that we have and with the grid, we probably would be able to get the background nearly, if not completely black, without too much effort. That's not bad though. And actually with her chin up, we don't even need the reflector yet. But let's do one at the camera and let's throw a reflector in just to make it look more official. You can get these reflectors. Seth sells them. These are available, $85 each. Handmade. Yeah, this is like last stock here. Basically, we'll see if he has time to make any more. Handcrafted in Brooklyn.
Gotta make the silver and black one.
There we go. All right, so we filled in a little bit.
So below.
Too much?
Well, it looks like just the most.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, why isn't it next to each other? All right, we'll do it like that. So we got reflector. No reflector. It kind of comes down to your style. You can also try to bounce less light in with the reflector. What we're getting here is, and also we need to be careful because that background light's a bit hot, and we can see here that we're getting a little bit too much on the front of her face, but we can adjust for that with pose. Maybe try to go straight at the lens.
They're asking to get the 2 boxes as Dave had price. They're asking.
There we go.
Nice.
All right, good. So now we've got straight at the camera, you know, nice even light across the face. You got the beautiful hair light over here. You got the purple, which I like. Good. All right, nice. Questions? Perfect, right? Easy? Good. Now, let's say you want to be more portable. You want something smaller. We do have these smaller boxes, right? Again, the Seth is letting us borrow here. This is Easy Box 2. It's like, I don't know, 8 inches-ish, right? Let's put this one on the front line.
Same position?
Yeah, let's do exactly the same thing. Let's do the exact same thing.
Jack and my demo.
This is exactly Seth's demo, by the way.
On the 22nd.
On the 22nd. When you come on the 22nd, Seth's going to do exactly this.
I mean, he's stealing ours.
Yeah.
Because he's coming after.
Yeah.
I do it properly.
You do it properly, huh?
What do you think? What do you think's going to happen? It's going to be nice?
You know better.
Oh, well, thank you. All right. Well,
It's a team effort, though.
it is a team effort.
I guess I should probably.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, this guy doesn't, obviously we need a different bracket because that thing came with a bracket. So now this is nice and small, folds flat. Two diffusers. Special price today only? No, I don't know. Maybe it is. Probably not today only though. I'll make you a deal on this one at Seth's. Okay.
It's supposed to be Raj still up here for the whole time. Still only gear off as we do it.
Okay, so any questions? We're switching to a smaller box. Excited?
Lens flare, so
Lens flare? Nah, maybe.
right.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
That's
That was done on purpose.
the jumper.
We live for the lens flare.
It's not lens flare, that's leak.
No, he's saying over right there.
It's leaking in the back.
Look at this guy. You are no longer invited. No. So you should always use a lens hood. Mine was lost. Like, I could do that, but I'm just hardcore.
I am over here.
He's giving me a hard time here about the lens flare. Look, you get what you pay for. Yes, question.
What difference does it make the shape of the box, like octagonal versus square versus whatever?
So what's the deal with the shape of the box? Well, first of all, some boxes are cooler than others. So if you want to look cool, you want to make sure you have certain boxes, no. So it comes down to the spread for the most part, right? So if you have, let's say, a strip box, it's narrow. So that's going to allow you to control the spread of the light, right? If you're a rectangular box, it's a little bit bigger. Octagon or round boxes tend to kind of wrap more around the subject. So if I want to get like a hard, sudden line of shadow to light, a rectangular box is going to give me that, right? Whereas the more rounded style boxes are going to more wrap over. So typically, if I'm only using one light source, I like to use more of the octagonal style because they tend to, like I say, wrap around a little better, give you more space for bouncing. But if you want to go more classic, then the rectangles are good. Oh, wow. Okay, so smaller light source, punchier light, right? Also, we got like almost no light on the background, which is kind of cool. So that's how we can achieve that as well, which is nice. Wow, that screen is bad.
What?
See, and I said, I'll point out that I said, no, the screen looks great. It is a little bit, I guess you guys online probably can't see it. It's a little bit contrasty. We got to figure out. It doesn't look like I shot that with a quick take 200. No, all the highlights are blown out, I'm saying. Like, beautiful highlights here. Milk Makeup is not going to be happy with me if they see that screen.
Yeah.
All right, so we're still using the purple, right? So we have a smaller light source, which is going to be more hard by its nature. You can use that to your advantage, right? The hard light source is going to give us shadows that are going to be quick to drop, right? We're going to have really abrupt lines for the shadow. She has beautiful cheekbones. So sometimes we might want to use a harder light source to amplify that, right? But if it goes too dark too quickly, he's very scared there. Too dark too quickly, we can also add our reflector back in, right? Oh, there we go. Now, now we can throw the reflector back in, and because of our extreme angle we have here too, we're definitely gonna get some light on it. Now I am still your demo. Hold on, should I hold it? Dave, could you hold this the way Seth does?
Yo, you gotta chill. I don't use a tripod, old man.
That's right, you can't afford a tripod. Right, we can fill it and get that there.
Yeah.
And of course, we have to watch our backlight when you're using a strong backlight. Now, one thing you are going to get is we are getting a bit too much specular on our forehead. If you're working with a smaller bank like this and you're going to get that, then you might just need to just either feather it off or just watch the makeup. You know, I mean, there's only so much you can do. But also angle is important. So possibly chin more up. Yeah. And then also you have to say work it a lot. Did I mention that? There you go. Cool. So, right. So if also the lining can affect it, right? A silver line box or silver line umbrella is going to be more specular. It's going to bring your highlights up, which may or may not be great, depending on what you're doing. Cool. All right. That's nice. Questions about smaller box? So I think this clearly shows, you might like either one. I mean, I don't want to be one to pick a style. Yes, I do. But, you know, you can definitely see these are more or less the same. The main difference here is the box, right? And we can see the difference it makes. And in fact, if we dealt with the shininess on the forehead, the bottom one definitely has a much stronger, more kind of fashion feel to it. The top one's a little bit more portraity, a little more clean and commercial. So that can definitely affect, you know, what tool you use. You might have a whole studio full of equipment, but you might want that bottom look, and you can achieve that with the small box, right? Should we do one more thing? Do we have time for one more thing? Should we use an umbrella?
Only at 1 o'clock.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, we're gonna use an umbrella because, yeah, and we put an umbrella in the, always, you know, I generally like, yeah, let's use a double umbrella.
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna use 2 flashes. Why?
Why not?
We like to. Because you get paid more, exactly. Yes.
Well, how did you prevent the fallout of the gel? You are in a closed space without you just projected it onto the wall. How did you prevent that? How did you set it up?
How did we set up the gel so it doesn't get all over the place, you're saying?
Right.
Oh, okay, sure, I'll explain that what's in there. First of all, you need this neat little C-stand that's really tiny. This tape right here, handmade in Brooklyn. No, so there's a lot of ways to do it, but there's a couple things. The flash is set at 50 millimeters. Remember I said your flash zooms in and out, right? So we've got the flash here. We zoomed the flash head in to keep it as small of a space as possible. If we were really close to the wall, we'd want it wider. The further away from the wall we go, the narrower we want to make it, right? I just taped this on here. This is not the best way to do it. What you want to do really, to get the most control, is cut pieces of gel to the size, or buy the ones if you're that type of person, that are just the right size that go on the front of the flash. So you don't get any spill flashing all around. The other thing you can do is, if you don't just want to keep it compressed in one space, but you want to get more of like a feathery kind of feel to it, then you can use grids. So I'll actually use the grid for this next setup, since we're already switching stuff. This is the Rogue 3-in-1 flash grid. I knew the name of it, I swear. And basically, what a grid does. Oh, I didn't do that. What the grid does is, you can see that? It narrows the spread of light, right? So we've got both pieces in here, so this is going to make it pretty tight, 16 degrees, so it's going to make it nice and tight. But what the grid does is it's not like a snoot, right? If people have probably seen a snoot or taken a piece of cinefoil and like shooting it through and making a circle of light, this actually makes the light feather out. So it makes a nicer kind of, a less of a perfect circle, which is generally more pleasing for like a background. So anyways, we got this grid here. We're going to throw this on. This can do 3 different sizes. Like I said, if I'm actually going to zoom this back to the widest because it doesn't really matter at this point. Okay. So this goes on the front. Like this now, they make a set for this. The reason why I started mentioning this is they make a set of gels for this that are cut to the circle. So if you wanted the most control, you would put your gel in here. Now nothing's spilling anywhere. Oh, there might even be gels in the bag. Look at that. Pick a color. I seen all of them? Okay. Yep. Orange. Okay. So this is a dark salmon. Good choice. All right. So in order to do this, I gotta take it all apart again. I think it goes in front, right? Because I'm cheap and I never buy the exact right ones, I just tape it on the front. I don't actually know how to do this. I think it just sits inside. By the way, this also tells you that there is a f-stop loss too, which is kind of neat. So if we already had everything perfect the way we wanted and we added this gel, we would know to give ourselves 2 more stops of light to compensate for this gel. Good. All right, I'll put this behind her. Now, when you're aiming a gel, sometimes a grid, you can just kind of like look at the wall, waiting for it to recycle. Wow, okay. Yeah. And you can just pop it to see where it falls. So we can look at it and say, oh, there it is. Now we're good. We'll make it through this session on this batteries that Seth gave me for my birthday. It was my birthday, and these are the batteries he gives me. Can you believe that?
You've had so many birthdays.
Doesn't give me any door cells or anything. He gives me these. Okay, so we have double flashes set up. Now, advantages of using more than one flash, besides the fact that you look cooler, right, is that means that each flash can be set at half the amount of power that you would normally need to get the same result, right? Which means that you can shoot faster. So let's say that we know we're doing a set of corporate portraits or whatever, and these people want to be in and out, and you want to be able to bang it out really quickly. Instead of having to set them at, quarter power, we can set them at 1/8 power or something like that. We can shoot faster by using more than one flash. The other time that this becomes really useful is if you're doing high-speed sync outside, right? Which is the only time you should ever be using high-speed sync. Because basically what high-speed sync does is it allows you to set your shutter speed faster than the normal sync speed of your camera. But the way that it works is it pulses your flashes. So even though you're only shooting at like an f2, you're actually putting out like probably close to full power depending on where you are because it's got to pulse the flash so hard. So you often see, or used to see before they had high-speed sync and bigger flashes, people out in the desert with like trees of these things like shooting, and you'd be like, why are they using so many flashes? Well, that's why. They're probably all on full power even though they're shooting at f2 because they're shooting at 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 of a second.
They're all wishing you happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. It's not really my birthday. Every day is like my birthday when I get to come do this for you guys. All right. See how Seth did like graffiti on this? You probably can't see it. Oh.
Oh, who did this?
Yeah, I wrote on the back of it. Okay, umbrella. It's a little dark.
Kind of.
That background's even a lot.
Yeah, it's nice and even. It's definitely a little bit on the dark side. So we'll give ourselves some more juice. Are you firing this guy back here too? No.
No, no.
Okay.
But I will now.
So we're just getting our front light set up. We can see that, again, it's hitting the background, so it's going to infect our gel. That's one of the things that you're going to get when you use a large light source. You're going to get spread everywhere. So,
David, what's the difference between reflective umbrella or through when you shoot?
well, in order to answer that question, you're going to have to come to my umbrella class I'm doing later in the no, I'm just kidding. I am doing an umbrella class. No, so what's the difference between bouncing into the umbrella and shooting through it? Lori?
Shooting through it would be diffusing the light.
That's true. If you're shooting through the umbrella, it's hitting a diffusive panel, so it's being more diffuse, right? You're going to have more diffuse light. That's true. Now, the other thing is, if I leave my stand exactly where I am and I flip the umbrella to this side, it's closer to her, right? Umbrella being closer makes it bigger, which would make it softer. So, generally speaking, if you're using it from the light stand in the exact same spot, it's going to appear to be, or give it a softer light because the umbrella is physically closer when you're shooting through it. Right? Does that make sense? Because I can't put if my light is here, I can't put the umbrella here. If I did, then the staff would be hitting her in the forehead, right? So it allows you to get closer with it, which then makes a softer light. So softer and more diffuse, generally speaking. That being said, a shoot-through umbrella this big is not going to be softer than a bounce umbrella that's that big, because size is what makes it.
They're asking if you could go that you put the background.
Oh, that's a little too hot. Okay, what was the question?
They're asking if there's a grid on that background.
There is a grid on the background light, but I do not think we're using it yet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is for the. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll actually look like it.
Yeah, don't look at that. You're looking at that going, why am I even here? She is. See his face? That's what she was thinking the whole time. No, this is the...
This grid on the road is too small.
Okay, so the grid is too small, so the circle is smaller than her head. So we're going to make it bigger.
Go with that one, yeah.
45. Yes.
Did the orange color make it gray behind the background? You lost the black and the purple.
Okay, so we lost the purple because we removed the purple gel. The reason why the background itself is gray now is because the umbrella is lighting it.
What if it,
This is doing nothing yet.
but what if that, that,
Nothing. So the question is, what did this grid do? So far, it has done nothing.
Some stuff you just can't see.
Right. Because it was too small. So it was literally behind her head. So now that was the secret lesson that was taught here. If you don't want your light to show up, what do? You put it behind their head. See, Dave's looking from camera position?
But
Yeah, exactly. So he's looking at where it's ending up.
it's not like you can grab.
Yeah, sometimes when you're lining stuff up like I did it next to it, but if you do it from the front, then you can actually see. Oh, because I wasn't watching.
It might be
Yeah,
okay.
try it. We're going to give it a shot.
So the higher the number of the grid, the wider the spread.
The higher the number of the grid, the wider the spread. Exactly, because that number is a angle. Oh, look at that. You know what though? Okay, we're going. Oh no, we're going full Argentinian. We're doing it.
That thing never.
I know. For my Argentinian friend who loves this, this is for you. We have to end this way because hey. All right, so I'm shooting at the back of her head. What's that going to do? Might not be too much though, because that's a pretty tight grid. That, by the way, is terrible. If you've ever liked to see something that was bad, there it is. If you shoot this and you see it and you're like, oh look, but no, don't do it.
She's like, yeah.
and end on that one.
I'm gonna take the grid off altogether and just put light back there.
What did you expect it to be?
Awesome.
Well, that's
No. So the problem. The problem is the grid's too tight for the space that we're trying to light. So it's basically just lighting time.
But is it also because the umbrella, the light from the umbrella is so
Yeah, exactly.
controllable or wide or
We're not getting the effect that he
that you're
was
not getting,
thinking because it's directly behind her and that
Yeah, it didn't give
it's
the
a
okay.
small light source directly behind her.
Yeah. It's not big enough to do it.
Around her, all over her. And
Yeah, it was just too small, basically. So yeah, it didn't give her like a whoosh, it gave her
maybe if we go a little bit lower and tilt up with it.
okay. I took the grid off, by the way, and I'm just using it almost like a kind of like a snootish thing. Try that. What does that look like? Yeah, that's better. All right.
I have to read it.
Well, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to scoop the umbrella down lower to get it off the background. Because right now what we're getting is umbrella saturation on the background is killing our light. Yeah. We got it. You got to work through it. We'll forget we ever took that one. There we go. All right, back there. Nobody saw that. Hey, listen. You got to do. I want to show you guys what it would look like if it was bad. I was,
They can go more overhand with the umbrella. And then bounce it.
Exactly. Let's go really like almost flat, if we can. There we go. Rain umbrella style. Good. This is perfect too if you're outside and it's raining. It keeps you,
And then that.
yeah. And then we'll just kick. Yeah, and then we like that, and we're done. Artisanal. Brooklyn made. He's making silver ones for 2018, so get excited.
Actually, I got the spray glue.
He's already got spray glue.
Foil and spray glue.
Tinfoil and spray glue. Come for that session. Questions as we're setting this up?
yeah. Daniel,
Yep.
is there a product, I'm sure there is,
No.
where you can use a Speedlight and an umbrella and then like put some sort of sock or something
Mm-hmm.
around there so that the light from an umbrella is just a little bit more controllable?
It's kind of cool.
Okay, so, there we go. Yeah, that's exactly the face I'd make after I saw that last shot too. Good. Once it's up. So, the question is, yeah, the answer is yes and no. So she says, is there like a sock or something we could put on the front of this to make it more controllable? Yes, there's a sock. No, it will not make it more controllable because the sock is just going to add diffusion. In fact, if anything, it's going to spread out more. There we go.
And then we'll try to get the background.
Yeah, now let's get the background right. So I'll talk about that for a second while Dave gets that working. So basically, if you were to put, Photech makes the soft lighter, right? Which is an amazing, don't buy it because once you do, you'll never use anything else. It's too easy, right? Yeah, it's too easy. But anyway, it's great. Basically, it's a sock. It's an umbrella that has like a sock in the front of it. So you get this big open spread light that you get with an umbrella, but then you get the diffusion of the sock. It also makes it slightly bigger technically because it's putting the light here instead of back there. But having a sock on the front of the umbrella is not going to control the spread. It's going to actually spread it more on some level. Yes, I know, it blows your mind. If you want control, you want a softbox. Trying to control an umbrella is like herding cats. You can do it, but why bother? Well, this is looking good. All right, so we're getting there. Yes. Okay, so the reflector is not $85. See, you've obviously been around a bit, so you know that like photo stuff can be stupid expensive. No, this is literally just a piece of foam core. If people are, I just joke about it. You can get them CVS, like a drugstore. Yeah. It was probably like $2, but priceless.
You don't have to mute when you go in or anyone.
Oh, I don't have to mute when I go forward. Okay.
Batteries are dead.
Okay, so we'll switch batteries.
It's really connected.
Yeah, this batteries are terrible. when you pick up batteries and they don't weigh anything, you know there's a problem. I'm just going to say. All right, so if you're tuning in now, this whole class has been me just putting batteries in here. I'm almost done though. Yes, how to install batteries. All right, so there we go. Batteries. Oops. Good. Oh, I didn't turn it off first, which is probably a bad idea. Let me put it in the mode, blah, blah. Right now I'm setting it into slave mode. It's C, which is perfect. We should be good, Dave. Yep, that worked. Good. Okay. She's getting a little pissed off, so we got to get this done. Any other questions? No? All right. Yes?
Can you put the original gel back on?
The purple one? I could.
I'm kidding.
Oh, that's interesting, and I actually kind of like it if we go like this, and she looks pissed off again. Because it almost looks like fire.
No, I'm like almost surprised.
You're almost surprised. You're surprised it's actually working. Yes, I know, me too. Okay. All right, here we go. We're going to do it. We got fire back there. It's interesting. It's like, anyways, questions, thoughts, nothing. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're good. So we're going to wrap. Unless somebody suddenly comes with something to ask really quickly, we're going to wrap. Yes?
Number one, how much does ambient light matter, with flash?
Okay, how much does the ambient light matter with flash?
Zero. I would say nothing, right?
It matters as much as you want it to matter, right? Right now, we are set so that none of the ambient light in the space is affecting our shot. But we could use the ambient light as part of our shot if we want to. That's a different way of working, and certainly very acceptable if you want to work that way. Especially useful if you only have, let's say, one flash. Let's say I'm working in a hotel room. I'm shooting a wedding on location. There's beautiful light coming through the window. I might use a flash with the ambient light to create a shot, right? If I'm in a place where the lighting is not good, I want to get rid of it. If I'm creating studio shots, I want to get rid of it. So that's what I did here.
So the light will not, let's say the window light will not, no, the flash will not overpower.
Flash could overpower window light if you want it to. That's right. It would depend on how you want to do it. In fact, didn't we just do a video? Yes. Watch the video that we just shot yesterday, so it'll probably be out in a few weeks. I literally do exactly that, but not with a Speedlight. I use a regular flash, but you get the idea.
I know the second question.
Yep.
A few days ago, I had an issue with an umbrella and the background shadow,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It went at the flat, it went at one car.
Yeah, it's fine. So I understand. I'm going to give you the answer I always give, which is
There was no room to move them out.
there will always be a shadow on the opposite side of the light.
There's no way to.
There will always be a shadow on the opposite. And as soon as that sounds really simple, if you think that way, you'll be able to get rid of the shadows. So where is the shadow here? It's on the ground. That's right. Where was it before? It was like down here. When we did it earlier, it was over there. You have to frame it. Where was it the only time you ever saw it? When I had the flash on the camera and I couldn't control it. That's why I took it. Well, in the time I did this too. There's always going to be a shadow where the light's not. So the worst thing you can do is see a shadow on the background and try to throw more lights at it. Don't do that. Move your light or your subject. Put the shadow where you don't see it if you don't want to see it. Or use it. You can't get rid of it. Make it part of your composition. Nobody said you can't have shadows. Well, you said you couldn't have shadows, but I mean, who? You love shadows. All right, question. Anything online? Cool. Well, welcome back, guys. 2018 should be a good year. We will be back at 3 o'clock if you want to come back. Go eat something in between. We are going to stream onto Facebook at 3 o'clock, though, so go to Adorama's Facebook. Yes?
I have one question. To the third point, using umbrella. If you had a deeper umbrella, you could do more control.
Deeper umbrellas typically have a smaller throw, so you would have more control, yes. So that's the question there. So yes, if you wanted more control, a deeper umbrella would have that. And also you can bring your head closer and into the umbrella. It comes down to angles. You know, an umbrella is flat, so the tighter it is, the more control you have. That's a good question. Now I lost my train of thought. Facebook, 3 o'clock. We'll do the same thing, but different. So if you guys want to come for that, I'll do more small stuff because I forgot to do that until the end here. And then next week we're doing something.
It's right there.
It's on there. Oh, next week I'm shooting with one light. That should be very exciting. So if you want to see how to shoot with one light, that's always a good thing to do. Next week, 12 o'clock on YouTube streaming or come here. 3 o'clock on Facebook streaming or come here. There's a critique. If you want to see Seth be really mean, sign up for the critique. It is on the 23rd, which is next week. It's soon. Adorama.com/events/ Adorama.com/events. Sign up for the critique if you'd like to be critiqued. It's the day after Seth's demo, which is on the 22nd, on Speedlights. All right, thanks, guys. Is it really on Speedlights?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.